All right, today we're jumping into one of the biggest, most epic books in the Hebrew Bible, but we're going to look at it through a really cool lens. We're talking about what one writer calls the Salvation Symphony of Isaiah. So here's the thing about the book of Isaiah. Before you can even get into the book itself, you've got to get to know the artist behind it. He's presented not just as some prophet, but as a total master craftsman with words. I mean, he wasn't just, reporting facts. This guy was building entire worlds, sparking faith, and making something you can't see feel incredibly real. And that right there, that's the main idea for this whole explainer. We're looking at the book of Isaiah not just as a religious text, but as this magnificent piece of art. It's this complex, beautiful masterpiece that's designed to make you feel something powerful. Okay, so that brings us to our first big section, Isaiah the poet-prophet. We're going to dig into how he used language not just to describe the world, but to actually shape it. And you've got to love this slide. It just nails his method. Think about his words like a really versatile toolbox, right? To build up truth and beauty, he's using watercolors and melodies. But when it was time to tear down sin and rebellion, he wasn't afraid to pull out the hammers, the swords, even the scalpels. His language could be beautiful and creative, but it could also be incredibly precise and surgical. And this really gets to the heart of what he was doing. Being a poet, in the most basic sense, means being a maker. Isaiah's whole purpose was to make God's presence feel real, right here, right now, and absolutely urgent. He wasn't just talking about God, he was trying to pull his audience right into God's presence. So you've got this poet-prophet with an incredible toolbox. What does he do with it? Well, his main subject, his great muse, if you will, was the holy. But his take on this word? Wow, it was nothing short of revolutionary, and honestly, it's the key to unlocking his entire message. So let me ask you this. When you hear the word holy, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Seriously, what's the image? I think for a lot of us, it might be something, quiet, maybe a little serene, maybe even a bit distant. Well, Isaiah comes along and just sets that common idea on fire. Just look at this contrast on the screen. Where we might think of something pious or pastel-colored, Isaiah sees something blazing, like a furnace. Where we might imagine something gentle and far away, Isaiah is preaching an intense, world-changing revolution. See, for Isaiah, holiness isn't this passive state of being pure. No way. It's an active, all-consuming experience. It's a furnace that you walk into and it fundamentally changes you from the inside out. It's not about watching life from a safe distance. It's about diving headfirst into the fire. And what that means is that the famous line, holy, 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 well, it isn't some quaint little phrase you'd stitch on a pillow. Not at all. In Isaiah's hands, it's a battle cry. It's the banner of a divine revolution that is going to completely remake the world. Okay, so you have this artist with this revolutionary vision of holiness. How in the world does he structure a massive 66-chapter masterpiece? Well, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it as a symphony. And what's really cool is that the theme of this whole symphony is spelled out right in the composer's name. The Hebrew name, Yeshayahu, or Isaiah, literally means God saves. Salvation is the central theme, the main melody that you hear running through the entire piece. And that word, symphony, it just perfectly captures how this book feels, right? It's got this fusion of simplicity and complexity. There's one single clear message, salvation, but it's explored with so much depth and variation through all these different movements and themes. So this grand symphony is made up of 3 distinct but also deeply connected movements. And while you can find all 3 themes popping up throughout the book, each section really has a dominant voice. So here's how the symphony unfolds. It's in 3 big movements. The first part, chapters 1 to 39, that's like the overture of judgment. It's a stark warning against rebellion. Then the tone just shifts completely. The second movement, from chapters 40 to 55, brings this powerful message of comfort to a people who are in exile. And finally, the whole thing builds to this amazing crescendo in chapters 56 to 66, with a glorious vision of hope for a brand new creation. Judgment, comfort, and hope. Those are the 3 movements of God's Salvation Symphony. Okay, so we've got a poet-prophet, we've got a grand symphony, but why does this ancient book still hit so hard today? Let's bring it all home in this last section. The real genius of Isaiah is that he doesn't work with some abstract, otherworldly stuff. Nope. He works with the raw materials of our actual lives, just our ordinary experiences, our biggest disappointments, and yeah, the messes we've all made. He looks at everything and everybody exactly as they are. And then, right after showing us all that mess, he delivers this absolute knockout punch. He reveals that this ordinary, disappointing, messy stuff, that's the very material God uses to create, to save, and to give hope. And this all leads to the big takeaway from Isaiah's symphony. It's a profound and really a simple truth. Nothing is unusable by God. He takes it all, the good, the bad, the broken, and uses it as the raw material for his work of remaking our world and our lives. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If Isaiah is right, if nothing and no one is beyond being used in God's great work of salvation, then what kind of symphony, what masterpiece of judgment, comfort, and hope is being composed right now from the messy, ordinary stuff of our own lives?